So for this section, you're going to want to think about more traditional grammar errors, subject-verb agreement, pronoun antecedent reference, fragments, run-ons, just almost ones that should stick out. And that's kind of the good news of it, meaning you don't necessarily have to think about style and voice and whether it's concise. And many of these will sound wrong. Here's the good news. If something sounds wrong, then you're going to know, okay, if it sounds wrong, I can get rid of E, because something's wrong with it. And then you don't always have to know the term or the real reason. You don't, in fact, have to correct these. You just have to determine where the area is, and I think that's to your advantage. For number 12, I can hardly believe your tale of military intrigue, the sophisticated secret weapons, and the increasing violent actions that were exhibited by just one man seem incredible. Hopefully you noticed that something sounded funny there. Instead of increasing violent, we'd want increasingly violent. So in that case, we know the letter B is the answer. It didn't sound terrible, but it did sound a little bit funny. If you absolutely do know the right answer and what it should be changed to, then you're just going to very quickly get this right and move on. Number 13, the animals who were chosen to represent the Democratic and Republican parties. I'll tell you what, I'll stop you right there because we don't use who when it comes to animals. We use that. Number 14, I should like you and he to supply the necessary data for the annual statement that must be prepared in advance of the spring meeting. And once again, typical strategy for test taking, get rid of what you know is not the answer. So in advance of the spring meeting, that sounds all right. I should like you, okay, that sounds okay. Supply the necessary data, okay. So I should like you and he, this should actually be him. So we know that's the problem. Moving on to number 15, in the aftermath of the Space Shuttle Challenger explosion, where 7 crew members were killed, the NASA program underwent a massive examination of priorities. Nothing jumps out as too crazy, only where is a location, and we might want to say in which. That would be the problem there. 16, 25 restless 5-year-olds were throwing paperclips, comma, were drawing on the blackboard, comma, and called to one another while their teacher went searching for milk and cookies. Again, some of these don't sound like there's anything wrong with them. So we had we're throwing, we're drawing, and then called, and that's that parallelism. You want to look for that. So we would need C to be we're calling to be consistent. So anytime you see an inconsistency there, that's probably going to be the issue. By the way, if you ever hear something that seems wrong in a part that's not underlined, you can ignore it because they're only giving you those choices. 17, recent medical breakthroughs, including the discovery of a vaccine to slow the AIDS virus, have encouraged researchers, and a cure is still eluding them. The problem here is located in this area, and it doesn't really work there. It's supposed to be something about a contrast, probably but would work better here. So it looked funny with the semicolon there maybe, but the problem here is that and we weren't really adding something that was consistent. We were adding an opposite, so we needed something like but. Number 18, before the producer took the musical to Broadway, he tried to get the show with all their actors and actresses booked in summer stock theaters for last-minute revisions. All right, that sounds all right. Before the producer, okay. Tried to get the show. Now, show is an item, and then there. Show is singular, and there is plural. So this is a pronoun antecedent reference problem. We need this to be its. So pronouns and their antecedents, or the words to which they refer, need to match in number and gender and all those other ways. 19, neither the midlife career change applicant nor the young inexperienced applicant are finding it easy. Well, let me stop you there. Neither nor and either or are singular. So we have are, and that's plural. So watch out. This is pretty much a basic subject-verb agreement issue. Now it's separated by several words, so you have to be careful. But remember, neither nor and either or are singular, and that makes sense because neither nor actually is 0 because it's none of those folks, so that makes sense that it would be singular. Number 20, we have a problem here where we start off with you and then we switch to one, and so the answer is B, meaning that's the problem. You is second person and one is third person, and so we want to be consistent there. That's back to that parallelism. 22, when you buy a condominium, you will have less work than owning a house entails, but you have not had the intrinsic rewards. Again, the problem there is inconsistency. We have and then had, and so C is the area where there's a problem. 22, we have come to the conclusion that we can end hostilities in that area of the world by providing food to both sides, bringing the opposing forces to the negotiation table, and to guarantee. All right, so here again we have providing, bringing, and then to guarantee. So here we have that inconsistency. I hope you're seeing the trend there. When you have three verbs or three phrases and they're all the same, two of the three are the same type, it's the odd one out that we want to focus on. Number 23, numerous collections of short stories include works by Isaac Bashevis Singer, who, despite living in the United States for more than 50 years, continued to write primarily in Yiddish. And that's very smooth. I don't hear anything weird, and so absolutely there's nothing wrong with that. 24, public television has succeeded admirably in raising money for its future programs through marathon fundraising projects. Once again, there's nothing wrong with that at all, and you may find it uncomfortable to have two no errors in a row. That would throw me off as well. It is not common to have a no error as an answer, I will tell you that. So if you start having a lot of E's on your answer document, you'll want to slow down because that's just unlikely. That's a little, I guess, too easy for some people to have. Number 25, by the time the bank guard closed the doors, a riot had erupted due to the long lines and shortage of tellers. Your problem area is going to be here. This is probably going to, maybe be the pickiest one that we've gone over because as a result of, it's just a little bit of a phrasing or diction issue. It may be a little bit more acceptable to say as a result of versus due to. But again, that's a tough one. I could see that easily being marked as E. But that should remind you that this isn't meant to be easy. You won't always have that satisfaction of knowing the answer and walking away feeling confident. 26, the ancient concept that states that the sun revolves around Earth is questioned by Copernicus in the 16th century. If you're used to writing essays about literature, you might not have noticed this, but we have a problem with is here because of the tense. So D is the answer. That's the problem there. Number 27, the opera company members, which range from, I'll stop you right there. We have members, and those are people in this case, so we would want to say who instead of which. 28, both major high school debate teams, each eager to dominate this year's National Forensics League competition, intends, aha, there we go. Both is plural, and we have a singular verb intends, so C is the answer. That should be intend. Both is plural, and therefore it should be intend. Why is it tough? Because look how far away both is from intends. Or teams, either way, you might say, those are far away from the verb, and when it comes to subject-verb agreement, the more you can try to identify those, the better. And if they're far away from each other, it is difficult. And last one of this type, improvements in the global positioning system will allow pilots using the system to guide aircraft right down to the runway, even when severe weather creates conditions of zero visibility. And nice one to end on. Nothing wrong with this. This may be one where you thought, well, that word sounds funny somewhere else. Will allow, write down, even when there were no obvious errors. Condition of. Go with your instincts on one like this. You can't state something that's clearly wrong. Nothing really sounds funny, and because of those two items, you can take off the table. You're going to mark it as no error.